On today's episode of the What's Up Diz podcast, Disney World versus Disneyland. Which one's better? Let's find out. No, I'm kidding. That's not gonna be our intro song because copyright. Anyway, hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the What's Up Diz podcast. I'm your host Eddie,
and I'm your host Maria.
And today is the epic showdown: Disney World versus Disneyland. Which one is better? Now, question. How did this idea come about?
Well, we recently took a trip down to Disney, California, and we were celebrating a bunch of things there, and we were really hyping up this trip. We've been, planning this trip for 7 months, 6 months, something like that?
Yeah, give or take.
And so while we were there, it was the same magical feeling that we got at Disney World, and we're like, oh, it's kind of similar. But then when we started experiencing and really exploring the parks, we're like, this is really different too, though. They're so similar, but they're so different. Yet we're still getting such a magical experience from it. And then we started comparing and contrasting the certain things at both parks. And we're like, we need to talk about this.
Absolutely. We live in Florida. We're in Miami, Florida, for anyone who is wondering. But yeah, that's across the country. So
yeah.
A trip to Disneyland, we planned 7 months in advance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different for every person, obviously, depending on where you live in the United States. But yeah, we planned this for 7 months. And
we really did our research.
Absolutely. We spent so much time researching because another thing that Maria and I like to do is we go to Disney World very, very often. We're a couple hours away. So we go very often. We always try to find the new things there, the cool things there. We always try to plan trips for friends, for people who have either never been to Disney World or people who have been but just haven't really experienced Disney World to its fullest extent. We always like to, find things to do and really set up trips like that. So Disneyland was interesting for us because it was just a time where we can experience something that's brand new.
Yes.
Because we go to Disney World so often that it doesn't necessarily ruin the experience, but we get so used to it. It feels like a second home, but even home gets familiar.
It's not new to us anymore.
Yeah, it's familiar.
So it's just familiar. So that's why I always post whenever I go to Disney, I'm going back home and stuff like that, because I'm so familiar with it.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I love it. The fact that we're so lucky to say that we're so familiar with these parks. We're so lucky to say that. So, but at the same time, we saw this opportunity to go to Disneyland and we're like, oh, we have to, because it's going to be a different experience. It's something new. So, and that's exciting for us. We don't just love the parks. We love, the films, we love the company, we love what they stand for. And we're huge fans of Walt Disney. Of course, we're very inspired by him. To be able to go to his original park, Disneyland, was also a major plus for us. That actually brings up another thing I wanted to say.
As people who live in Florida, and again, like I said, we're really close to Disney World, a couple hours away.
3.5 hour drive, and that's it.
So the biggest thing, whenever we were telling people, hey, we're going to Disneyland, you already know where I'm going with this. The one thing that almost everybody said to us or asked us was, why when Disney World is better? Why would you go to Disneyland when we have Disney World right here? Oh God, I loved that question so much.
So annoying. And I even had family members who were like, oh, you're not missing anything. Why are you going to waste a trip? Just waste a trip. Jesus.
That's just mad savage. Now, if anybody feels any kind of discouragement thinking that one is better than the other, let's be real here. If you are planning a trip to either or, you're good. You're going to have an amazing time.
100%.
An amazing time, either or. That's if you plan it. That's a big thing. You got to plan.
You do have to plan it. Don't over plan it, because plans can always change, but have a set, going with a mindset of all right, this is what we want to do.
Yep.
Keep it flexible.
Yep. We're going to do an episode eventually of the best tips that we've learned from our experiences on how to plan a trip to Disney properly.
Right.
And because, that's the one thing that a lot of our friends and colleagues like to say is planning a Disney trip can be stressful. And it can be if you
100%.
if you walk in with not that much familiarity or not that much prior research.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be easy if you just do a little bit of research.
And it can be fun. Make
Absolutely.
It fun.
Of course, 100%. But yeah, we'll do that episode another time.
Well, let's get into it.
Let's get into the epic showdown.
The epic showdown.
Bum, bum, bum.
The mouse versus mouse, basically.
Mouse versus mouse. That was hilarious. I was like, when I was trying to come up with a little Instagram story thing. I was like, let me try to find a GIF of Mickey fighting, and then I was like, I wish I could get one of Donald, but I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, Disney World versus Disneyland. A lot of people say it's the same thing, so why don't I just make it Mickey versus Mickey? I'll get the exact GIF, mirror it over, and just have them fighting each other. I'm like, genius!
But that's the thing. I'd be like, well, Disneyland's better, Disney World's better. You do realize it's the same company at the end of the day. Your money is going to the same company the end of the day, so who cares?
That's true. That's very true.
All right, so now we're going to start the comparing, the contrasting. And the first topic I want to talk about is attractions.
Attractions. Oh, boy.
Attractions.
Oh, boy.
So in Disneyland, there's some attractions that we do not have here at Disney World. Disneyland has kept most of the classic Disney dark rides. And we do have some in Disney World, but I don't think as much as Disneyland. One of the attractions that I liked better in Disneyland was Winnie the Pooh, actually. I like the cart better.
The style is similar in the sense that they're both dark rides. Now, for people who don't know what I mean by dark rides, a dark ride is essentially, you're just in a small cart and you just go through different scenes, which is mostly in darkness, but you see a lot of scenes that are just meant to, it's not really meant to scare or thrill you. It's just meant to just, emulate certain story aspects. If that doesn't really help you understand what I mean, some examples of a dark ride would be Pinocchio.
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan is a dark ride.
White.
Snow White for sure is a dark ride. Small World? Not really. Alice in Wonderland, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Those are all dark rides.
They're all dark rides. Yeah, it's very small, minimalistic. Well, not minimalistic in the sense of like the technology is very minimalistic. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
But I liked it better.
True.
I liked it better because I think I like the cart better. I like the vehicle better. It was the actual, how do you call it? The
honey
hive.
pot?
It was a hive.
Oh yeah, you're right. We have
the honey pots.
That's true. We have
our vehicle is a little bit more cramped. If you want to fit 3 people in a row, is a little bit more, you got to squeeze it in. Yeah. Whereas theirs, they have 3 rows and it's a hive.
Yeah.
And it's just cuter.
Yeah.
So I was like, why do I like this one better? And I did. The one that I didn't like is Splash Mountain.
Wow. Really?
I did not like Disneyland Splash Mountain.
Now, okay, so what exactly is different between Splash Mountain and here and Splash Mountain there?
The vehicle. The log.
Oh, that's right.
The log. Okay, so in Disney World, it's just kind of like a bigger, wider log. And you're with somebody. It's usually a 2-seater. You could even fit 3 people in it as well. Mm-hmm. And there's also in the front kind of like something that you could hold on to. So there's not really seatbelts in Splash Mountain. I'm used to those.
Right.
But yeah, and then I went to the one in Disneyland. Eddie did not ride it because he had all the camera equipment and I felt bad. I was like, don't ride it. However, Splash Mountain is actually my favorite of the mountain range. So I was like, I need to ride Disneyland Splash Mountain. He was telling me, yeah, you got to go ride it.
Yeah, that was one of the few rides that were like on your must-do list for Disneyland.
Yeah.
Because
I had to ride it.
You had to ride it. The thing was, so you guys have an understanding, the way that we had it set up, or the way we had our trip set up was we were going to be in Disneyland as a whole for 3 days. So day 1 was inside Disneyland Park. We just got to enjoy it. We got to experience everything. Mm-hmm. Just, let it all sink in. Just not even worry about photos or videos, even though we still did that because we're millennials. So we did that. And then day 2 was more focused on getting content like videos and photos. And then the third day was Disney California Adventure. Yeah, so we went to Splash Mountain on day 2 where I had all of my camera equipment. Usually I'd be down to do Splash Mountain. It's just that one time, especially since I didn't have like a poncho or some form of protection for my camera gear other than just my backpack, which I didn't want to risk. I was like, just go.
I went by myself.
Yeah. Which at
but
the end of the
totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it as, it was fine regardless because like you said, the logs are one per row.
Yeah, I need to get to that for real. Okay, I see the log come up. I'm there waiting, and I see the log, and I'm like, ew.
Only fits one person.
It only fits one person, and it's long. I think it fits 6 people, and then I sit down, and I'm kind of like straddling other people. So behind me, it's like I can feel the foot of this dude.
Oh no. That I didn't know.
Yeah.
Really?
Kind of.
So you could feel the legs and feet of the person behind you?
Because the seat, it's like, fits like maybe one butt cheek. So it fits like one butt cheek, and I'm like, okay. And I sit down, and then in front of me, you just kind of see the head of the person in front of you, and the headrest, but that's all you can hold on to.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, where else can I hold on to? So I'm kind of like, sat like I'm in a kayak.
Yeah.
And I have people in front of me, and then it's slim, so it's just kind of like, and then I'm thinking, where are the handlebars? And they're actually on the side, so I'm holding it like this.
Oh, that's weird.
And so like it's just a weird positioning.
That is a weird positioning.
And I don't know, like I feel, the thing is, again, this is like, I'm telling you, it's the same kind of experience. The ride wasn't so different.
The actual ride, like the track and the different scenes and all that, they were the same.
It wasn't that it was so different, but yet I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoy the one in Disney World. Mm-hmm. It could have to do with the vehicle. And also, for some reason, I could be so wrong on this, but for what I felt when I rode it, I felt that their splash is shorter. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. It's a fun ride regardless.
Right.
But I was just like, I like ours better. I feel like ours is a little bit more like vibrant, even the colors inside. Mm-hmm. The different scenes, I feel like ours is more vibrant and more like, I don't know. I liked ours better. Just the minute I got off, I was like, yeah, Disney World has a better Splash Mountain.
Well, I believe ours does get a lot more refurbishment time than the other. And they refurbish it, I think, once a year, maybe even twice a year, whether it be just to clean it out.
Yeah. Chances
are they probably do a fresh coat of paint here and there.
Sure.
Who knows?
So far, Winnie the Pooh, Disneyland, Splash Mountain, Disney World. Okay, Space Mountain.
Oh.
I like Disneyland Space Mountain better.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take.
I like it better. I like the 2-seater. I like the bigger rocket. I like the graphics better. I like the way they actually do a liftoff. And I like the fact that the music is actually really cool and loud. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It was a lot more fun, and it's a lot smoother.
It feels more retro. Like when you're going through the queue, it feels more retro compared to Disney World, is what I think I can explain it as.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks about space in Disneyland, it's only just one queue. So it's just the 2 rockets, and that's it.
I think that's the biggest problem. Like, I really loved the Disneyland Space Mountain as well, but there's just one problem that just, to be honest, ruins it for me. And that is the boarding. The boarding, to me, after seeing how Disney World handles it, I'm just like, oh, why? Why didn't they do this? So here's the deal. As Maria said, boarding in Disneyland, California, there's just one section for boarding. You just go in, you sit on one, there's only one side for the spaceship, you sit on it, and you go. People who are waiting the standby line and people who are waiting in the Fast Pass line, all of them are waiting for the exact same spaceship, to put it simply, or for the same vehicle. Whereas in Disney World, the way that they have it set up is they actually have 2 tracks. There's 2 separate tracks. One that they have designated for standby, and another one that's designated for Fast Pass. Well, Fast Pass priority. Mm-hmm. Every now and then they'll send people from Fast Pass to the standby one, depending on how many people are waiting in the Fast Pass line. Because obviously, if you have a Fast Pass, you really don't want to wait a long time for a ride, even if there's a bunch of other people with a Fast Pass at the same time as you trying to get in. So, they'll delegate accordingly. But that helps a lot, because we could spend all day talking about the concept of fast passes and how they function and what leads to it. But to put it simply, with a fast pass system existing, since those people take priority, and whenever people walk in through the fast pass line, they're going to try to get them through first. And the more people from the fast pass line they try to bring in, the longer people have to wait in the standby line. So usually the average time for Space Mountain over here in Disney World is maybe 80 minutes, 100 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's again because they have 2 separate tracks, so they're able to kind of help a little bit with the wait time. Whereas here in Disneyland, since they only have 1 track and they have to prioritize fast passes, the standby line can get pretty intense. I mean, fortunately for us, we went at a slow time of the year.
Yeah.
But I can easily see that getting up to maybe the 150, 180 minutes.
100%.
Like 2 hours or 2.5 hours waiting for Space Mountain, which is not worth it in my opinion.
So, no ride is worth waiting that long.
Chances are they probably, since Disney World was created after Disneyland, they probably did that, after seeing in hindsight, like, maybe we should have done that for Disneyland. Yeah. That's what I was thinking when we were waiting in line for it, because we did standby once. And then we got a fast pass for it another time, but we did standby and we're just like, wow, no wonder it takes so long. It was a much smoother ride. That's the thing. Like,
it felt, I just liked it better. And I love the music.
Yeah. Music makes a huge difference is what I've noticed, because Space Mountain doesn't have that much of a soundtrack. It does, but I think like it's the sound effects that you hear in Space Mountain and Disney World drown out the music in Disney World Space Mountain. Whereas in Disneyland, it's the opposite, and it just really adds to a nice ride. So
that's Disneyland for the win in that aspect. In
that aspect, yes.
I don't like the queue.
I'll side with Disneyland. It's a very tough choice for me because
it is a tough choice. I will say, okay, we're gonna go by queue and attraction. Best attraction for Space Mountain is Disneyland. Best queue, we have a better queue.
Yeah, but you don't go to a ride for the queue. You go to the ride for the ride. So I will side with Disneyland on this one, but I will say this, like, if you guys can fix your queue and make it more like the Disney World queue, then you would literally be perfect. I'd be like, this is the perfect ride now. Yeah. So you just get to it, make it happen somehow.
Right. I'm gonna give another one to Disneyland right now.
Spoiler.
I know. I have to.
Oh yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
So much better in Disneyland.
Yeah, tell them a bit how the Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland is.
So first, when you board, you're sailing past the Blue Bayou restaurant, so you see people, you see the tables, and it's actually a beautiful spot.
It's very scenic.
Candles all around, and you're kind of like, you're in a swamp style, and then it kind of transitions into you going into the Pirates ride.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing that had everybody so impressed. Just when they go through the ride, when you start off and you go through the restaurant, it kind of makes you want to go to that restaurant. And then when you go and see the ridiculous pricing, you're like, never mind. No, it's okay.
But so then the transition was beautiful. It was so just like simple.
Yeah.
Then you just kind of hear the music and the rumbling. And then you see that we're like inside this cave, and you see skeletons all around, and which we don't have. We have a little cave scene, but it's very minimal in Disney World. Yeah. Very minimal. Whereas this one is a good chunk of I would say half of the ride is in the cave.
It's because I think, all right, the simplest way to put it, I think, is just that the story is more fleshed out in Pirates of the Caribbean and Disneyland. Because you start off, you go through this little swamp area for the Blue Bayou. Then you start going into this cave and you start seeing a bunch of skeletons and a bunch of different scenes of what look like the skeletons of pirates, and just kind of showing off the adventures that they had in the past. And then the Pepper's Ghost moment where they show the skeleton of the pirate turning into an actual human. Oh man, that's amazing. And then from there, you actually transition into seeing the pirate. So it really does tell the story of like, you're seeing all these skeletons of pirates that have lived long, long ago. And then you actually get to dive into seeing what it was like back in the day. That was such a well-told story that I'm going to be honest, because I've lived my entire life with the Disney World version of Pirates of the Caribbean. When I saw this one, I'm like, wow, Disney World just scammed me. I feel gypped. Like, because I never understood the story. I mean, I understood the story, but I was like, I was like, damn, after seeing Disneyland's version, I understand the story so much more.
So much more.
I just thought they were like, oh, look, skeletons. I used to just think that these were like pirates that died. And then and now like from the beginning, I thought you were already in the pirates world. But in Disneyland, it says, no, we're bringing you from the present and kind of transporting you to the past in a way. You're experiencing the past. And I'm like, I get this, and this makes much more sense. Now, the reason why it is like that, because I was...
go ahead.
I was gonna explain why, because I've mentioned it to her before when after the fact when we wrote it, because we're like, wow, this is so crazy. Like, why is it so different? The reason why is because in Disney World, where Pirates of the Caribbean currently is, it was originally supposed to be a ride that was based off of the Wild West.
Yes.
And I don't know the exact details. I'll probably have to look this up. But due to some issues that were taking place during the construction of that, it did not work out. So they decided just, whatever, let's do Pirates of the Caribbean. Whatever. So that's why it's like a lot of the scenes are very similar, but a lot of the opening half is cut in half for the most part. We got cut short for that in Disney World. So Disneyland, 100% on my end.
Pirates is a longer ride. It's a longer experience.
Yep.
2 drops instead of 1.
Yep.
And the drops are bigger, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
And
that caught us off guard.
Yeah.
That totally caught us off guard.
I completely forgot the fact that they had 2 drops.
Yep.
And I was like, and I remember going right before the second one, I was like, are we dropping again? Are we dropping again? What? Yeah, like, it was very like, whoa, I go, 2 drops. Like, I mean, it was like, oh man, this is better. This is so much better.
Hell yeah.
Like, immediately, my first time riding the ride, I was like, this is so much better. And no, it felt more vibrant. Towards the end, obviously, like, the boats kind of just, like, clumped together. But even then, there was even an end scene after the dog, which is crazy. The one of them just shooting guns as for fun. And I'm like, I think that's so funny.
I always thought that, I had always imagined that the scene of the pirates in jail trying to get the key from the dog. Yeah, I always thought that was the end of this
Nope, it was not.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. We got a little more than we expected on that one.
So Pirates of the Caribbean definitely takes the cake.
Yeah, that's a win.
Definitely takes the cake.
That's a win on Disneyland.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Oh, Thunder Mountain.
Oh, Thunder Mountain.
Okay. It's the same. And people are going to be like, oh, Disneyland is so much better. But I think they're saying that just because of one small detail. When you're going up before one of the drops in Thunder Mountain, you see the TNT and you see the explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why we don't have that at Disney World since it's so minimal now that we saw it. So yeah, I think it's weird that Disney World just took it out and they never did anything with it.
Yeah.
However, it's so minor that I can't give it to Disneyland. I think it's the same experience. It's a fun ride regardless. But when it compares, it's the same. It's the exact same.
If you're going to make a decision that one thing is better just from a very minor detail, then I mean, you clearly have a bias. That's the best way to put it. Another difference that the two had is the queue, because in Disneyland, there's actually a point in the queue where you actually walk under the ride. So you get to see like the train come up above you.
Which is cool, but I mean, again, so minimal, and it's so... I think Thunder Mountain RQ, it goes also by really quickly.
Do they also have 2 tracks?
Yes, they have 2 tracks.
Okay, yeah, that's I was unsure of that.
It goes by quicker, and I don't know. I like our queue better.
Yeah.
For the most part, Disney World has better queues. Disneyland is older, and they have less space to work with, even though it is still very big. But most of the queues that we're gonna be talking about, and it's better in Disney World. Yeah,
I although they're the exact same, I am gonna personally give my vote to Disney World simply based off of the queue, because not only is it mostly indoors.
You know what? I'll do the same.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, the design of the queue, like the way that people move around, I think is much smoother.
Yes.
And there's a lot more activities and stuff you can do inside the queue to kind of keep kids distracted, because kids can get pretty antsy. I think that'll and the TNT little things that they have that you can push to make explosions happen.
Yeah.
I love all of that. I mean, that makes a huge difference.
I think
when you're waiting.
I'll agree with you. I think I'll give it to Disney World as well.
Yeah, so I think although the rides for the most part are the exact same as far as the track and
overall experience,
I'd say
World.
Disney World. So Disney World has the win for that one.
All right. And now we're going to talk about some attractions that Disneyland has that we don't have in Disney World.
Oh, yes.
So we'll start off first with Matterhorn.
Matterhorn, baby.
Which is the Matterhorn bobsleds. And that was one of the original attractions, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, was it the original?
One of the first original attractions.
It have to have been one of the first, I'm sure. But
it is basically the whole concept of that ride is that you're in a bobsled and you are going up. Which mountain do they say? Is it just a mountain?
I don't think there's a specific story.
There's not a specific story. So you're just going up this snowy mountain and you're escaping the Yeti.
Yeah.
That's the ride concept. Obviously it's a very old ride. We have to take that in consideration. So it's an old ride, but it's very beloved. Very beloved. It's very iconic. So once people see the bobsleds, they go, oh, it's Matterhorn. So I was really excited to ride this ride. I've been talking about this ride for a while because I grew up watching this Disney tour DVD and I saw that there was like this Matterhorn ride and I was like, oh my God, that ride is so cute. And when I was little, I went up to a cast member going, where's the Matterhorn? And she's like, oh, honey, that's Disneyland. Oh, crushed. I was crushed. But so the minute that Eddie was like, hey, do you want to go to Disneyland with me? I was like, Matterhorn. Matterhorn, finally. So I was very excited to ride this ride. It's a fast ride. It's a coaster. There's nothing too crazy about it other than the fact that it just goes fast. It's bumpy. It will throw you. And you have encounters with the Yeti and you go all the way up to the top of the mountain and it's just you coming down from the mountain.
Yeah.
That's the ride concept.
Yeah.
And I think it is a really, really fun ride.
Yeah. The ride came out, I just looked it up. The ride came out in 1959.
Jesus Christ.
But I'm going to be honest with you. It feels like it came out in 1959.
Yeah.
Because look, I'm in the same boat as her. The way that I learned about Matterhorn was as a child. I don't know if anyone ever experienced this. If you any of the 90s babies remember this. So there was a series of VHS tapes that came out from Disney of sing-alongs from different movies. And one VHS that came out, I remember watching this one so much because it was my personal favorite one. There's a VHS tape that came out that showed Disneyland, and it was sing-alongs from, like, they had Zippity Doo-Dah, they had When You Wish Upon a Star, a bunch of different ones, but all of them were set in Disneyland. So, like, it showed Mickey opening up Disneyland, and you saw all the different rides and stuff, and I always loved it. I always loved watching that. It was my favorite. And and I remember vividly when they were doing Zippity Doo-Dah, they showed the Matterhorn, and I was like, that ride looks so cool. Like, I was a scaredy cat. I would have never ridden it as a child, but I was like, dude, it looks so cool. Where is it? I've never seen it. And yeah, I found out it was only in California, and that whole video, which is basically a commercial for Disneyland, it was done in Disneyland, and I was sad about it. But yeah, it's like a bobsled style. Have you ever seen the bobsledding in the Olympics? It's very similar to that. They're trying to go for that feel, but it's really, really, really bumpy. So
yeah,
you'll feel old when you come out because of all the back pains you're gonna have.
I love the ride though.
I sat in the front. It's a completely different experience when you sit in the front.
Was screaming.
Yeah, it's that ride throws you. First of all, it throws you everywhere. It just throws you all over the place. And I think that mixed in with the bumpiness of the ride is what gives you that lower back pain. Honestly, though, I would gladly do it again. So
I think it's just such a fun ride.
I make it sound like such an abusive relationship.
Oh my God, real.
It hurts me, but I'll always come back.
Jeez. Oh, that's so dark. But no, the second time it made me laugh so hard because I was like, Eddie, do you want to get the front or do I get the front? And I was like, you know what? Like, you can ride the front, babe. I love you. Ride the front. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. And then throughout the ride, I'm screaming because obviously we're going fast and it's bumpy. And we rode it at night as well.
Yeah.
And I just hear Eddie going, oh shit, oh shit. And I'm there laughing because I'm just hearing this grown man just like, oh shit. And then he sees the Yeti And he goes, "Oh, that's scary."
It's been a very long time since I've been on a ride that actually like made me feel these kinds of feelings, because Disney World at one point, sure, it did, but you know, like I said, there's a familiarity with it.
Yeah.
Like when we have like Expedition Everest, when we get up to the
big drop
to the Yeti that we have, when I see him, I'm like, oh, there he is, Disco Yeti. Like,
oh my god,
that's another insider to see if anyone catches on to the hashtag Disco Yeti. There are certain rides that, you know, sitting in the complete front in the front is better. Sometimes it's actually worse, and then it's better to sit in the back. This is one of the rides where I think sitting in the front, if you want to live like a life that feels very, very dangerous, but it really isn't, but it just feels very dangerous, sit in the front of Matterhorn. Like, cause that is probably one of the craziest moments I've ever experienced. That was so fun, and I would gladly do it again. So Matterhorn, amazing.
It was so fun, and it's, of course, it's a classic, so you had to.
Yeah.
We rode Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which we used to have in Disney World, but they took it out.
Yep.
But it's still over at Disneyland, and it's a really beloved attraction there still.
Yeah, our Winnie the Pooh that we have replaced Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really, really cute.
It was. That is a classic, an absolute classic dark ride.
It felt very like, this is so fun and this is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just like, I don't know, it felt endearing just because this was one of his original ideas as well.
Yep.
And the fact that we're riding such, you know, a beloved attraction at Disneyland, it was very, like, I guess you could say, like, just charming.
Yeah.
It was just a charming, fun ride.
One of the biggest things, I know I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest comments that we got from people, like from our friends and colleagues, about why are you going to Disneyland when you have Disney World right around the corner? Mm-hmm. The biggest response that we had to those people is that Disneyland holds a lot of history. That's where it all began. For the most part, we felt the history walking through there, but there were some moments where it really shined. And I think that this ride, especially Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, you really get to feel the history, because you get to see the kind of things that they had to do back in the day to really show off like the crazy scenes and really make you feel immersed. The kind of things that they pulled off back then with very simplistic technology, but it feels very Disney, and I love that. It's an absolute classic for a very good reason. Mm-hmm. So another one, they have Indiana Jones. Oh, we don't. Indiana Jones, one of the best rides.
It's so fun.
Oh yeah,
and it's so immersive too, and it's just a really, really fun ride, and we don't have that one at all.
Nope.
However, if you want to have a similar vehicle ride system, go to Dinosaur, because that's basically the ride system that they have. Yeah, if you're going to Disney World, if you want to ride the same exact track as Indiana Jones, then not the same exact track, but something similar. It's the same exact track. It's the same exact track? It's the same track. That's hilarious. Yeah. So it's the same track is Dinosaur here in Disney World. Although we do have the Indiana Jones stunt show. Yes, but no. Yes, but no. It will never compare. We have the show. We don't have the ride. Yeah, it'll never, ever, ever, ever compare. Because, okay, quick story. So, like I mentioned, we had planned this trip maybe like 7 months in advance, like booking stuff. And we did a lot of research, and one of the big YouTubers that we love to watch for Disney content is the Tim Tracker. Mm-hmm. Check out Tim Tracker's YouTube channel if you can. The Tim Tracker, great content if you want to see like updates and new things on all the theme parks in Orlando. They did a trip to California, and they did this trip way before we had planned to, but we watched that video multiple times as a way of trying to get like a good understanding of the parks. We went through other sources too, but of course, if one of our favorite YouTubers was there, we're gonna definitely see what they did. And Tim himself, he mentioned in his video that he rode Indiana Jones probably over 6 times, and he said it's by far the best ride. In fact, they went a second time, and he also rode it over 6 times. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we saw that, and I mean, sure,
to some degree, I was skeptical. I was like, I mean, yeah, it looks good, but if it's the same as Dinosaur, it can't be that good. It looks cool. I probably won't want to ride it multiple times.
Yeah.
I was just like, nah, it's not gonna be that. I mean, it'll be fun, but I'll want to, save that time to ride other things. But then we actually went and rode it. We had a fast pass the first time. We loved it. The first day we rode it with my parents and my dad's a huge Indiana Jones fan, so I was like, this is gonna be the ride he's gonna like. Fortunately, everybody liked it, so we rode it, and then near the end of the night, there was still an hour left. My parents had left for the night, and then Maria and I look at each other, and we're just like, "Do you want to ride Indiana Jones again?"
Yeah.
It's like it was just that it was like this weird like connecting moment where we both knew exactly what we wanted to do, but it was so weird. It was like this weird like secret addiction.
It was just like, this is the start of something.
Yeah, it's like, you want to go to Indiana Jones, and we wrote it a second time. So after we finished Indiana Jones the second time, we went through the exit and literally just turned back around to go back in one more time before the park closed. So we rode it 3 times that night.
But then we also rode it the next day.
We did.
We also rode it twice.
Yeah.
Before leaving.
So we rode it 5 times. And again, I was very skeptical. I was thinking like, yeah, it's a fun ride, but it's not that amazing.
It's so fun.
It is amazing. And now look at us. That's probably one of the rides that we missed the most from Disneyland.
It is.
So Indiana Jones, amazing. I wish we had it.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs, cool, but not the same.
I like Indiana better. Oh, hot take. So I can go on and on about attractions, but I actually really want to get to the next topic.
Oh, yeah?
Because I really want to talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel bad.
Uh-oh.
Let's talk about food.
Food.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, the food.
The food is better at Disneyland.
Way better.
It is better.
But let's preface this, because we don't want you to think that by any means
Disney World has horrible food. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't. But you have to look for it.
You have to look for it in Disney World. Yes, there are certain restaurants, sit-down restaurants, that you can get an amazing entree, an amazing dish.
I've had amazing meals at Disney World. Amazing.
Very flavorful, savory, whatever the case may be. But there's also a lot, especially on the quick service side, that it's okay. The thing is, it's okay. And with the amount of money that you're spending,
you don't want okay.
You want good. You want good quick service if you're spending $14-15 for some chicken nuggets and fries. You want some good nuggets.
I like the Disney nugget. I like Disney World nuggets.
It's bland.
You eat it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have no other choice.
I like the Disney World nugget. I'm a fan of the Disney World nugget. But
the Disneyland ones were better.
Yes. Yes, they were. The fries were the same.
Yeah.
Fries were the same. I will say, with Disney World, I know exactly where to get good food. That's why whenever I'm at Disney World, I don't have a bad lunch because I know where to eat.
Well, yeah, we know exactly where to go.
I know where to eat. So, but Disneyland, what I just noticed, I think, and we were talking about this, I think it's just the amount of people and the amount of food. Like in 2017, there was like 56 million people that went to Disney World, whereas Disneyland only had 20 million people.
Yeah, so that's
the difference.
That's less than half the amount of Disney World covers.
So I think that's what it is, and it's also just the mass production. I think they could make an effort and just make it better. I think they could, but I'll give it to them in that aspect. The quick service, Disneyland also has a lot of just options. I think because they're really influenced by Mexican cuisine, because Southern California is really influenced by that.
Yeah.
So there's like Mexican dishes, breakfast items. There's always breakfast burritos. People say they're delicious. But we had a snack in Disneyland. We did our research and went to Bengal barbecue. I know exactly.
Oh.
And we had a beef skewer with this focaccia herbal breadstick. And I love spicy food, and it was like this spicy African sauce. I forgot how to pronounce the word, But what impressed me was just how tender the steak was. It was a steak skewer, and it was grilled steak, and it was flavorful, and it was so tender. It was cooked perfectly. It was nice and hot. The sauce was delicious. It was spicy, and then the breadstick was fresh, and I was just really shocked. And I was like, wow, this is from just a quick service stand. Usually just at a stand in Disney World, you just grab like a thing you don't really think about, like, like a pretzel, sometimes a hot dog, but even then it's kind of like almost lackluster. But this was really good, and it was the same amount of money as like a pretzel and a drink, and even then less. And I was just really impressed that the quality of the steak, because steak is something that I think, oh, I'm gonna get a low quality steak right now. But I tasted it, I was like, this is so tender. That's crazy to me that I could just grab it like that by a quick service stand.
Yep, exactly. Because in Bengal barbecue, it's basically all skewers of, different meats and vegetables, and it's all grilled. And if I'm not mistaken, at least from what I was observing in the kitchen, they're grilled to order. So you get it fresh. You get them fresh when you order. And that's probably why there's a bit of a longer line and a bit of a wait time, because they make them fresh. But it's so good. With this trip, I really try to push myself to try new foods because I'm very picky with my food. So I was like, let me try to break myself out of my comfort zone. And out of all the things that I tried, I think this was one of my favorites. By the way, we are going to post photos of all the foods on our Instagram, which, by the way, is WU Diz Podcast. Give us a follow. We'll be posting photos of that and plenty of other things too. You can also find out ahead of time what our next topic is going to be if you want to watch us live. So anyway, yes, that skewer was just so good. And it was really spicy, and I'm not much of a spicy person, but that one was just so great. And that's the thing, we did our research. Don't get me wrong. We did our research about best things to try in Disneyland. But the fact of the matter is, when we did our own research, when we asked our friends what are some good places to go eat in Disneyland, the list of options is significantly larger than in Disney World.
Yes.
Because Disney World has great food too, but like Maria said, you got to search for it. You got to do a lot of research because unfortunately there's a lot of places that are not bad, just okay, just average, painfully average for what you're paying for. So Disneyland has just much better options.
So the steak skewer, a +1.5. +1.5. It was just so good.
Oh, yes. 100% +1.5.
We also, Dole Whip, same.
Dole Whip was the same.
Dole Whip's the same. It's just as delicious. So
yes.
You'll be happy with the Dole Whip.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to talk about table service reservation. And a popular one, everyone tells me to go to Cafe Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone who I've asked, they say Cafe Orleans. I do my research. I read articles. Cafe Orleans. I'm like, all right, fine. I had to get a reservation for Cafe Orleans. Luckily, that was easy to grab. Grab the reservation. Great. So I had it for like around 1 p.m. And it was the 4 of us. And we looked at the menu. It is just 1-page menu. So they have a lot of Creole food. That's where you can actually get the famous Monte Cristo.
Oh.
So it's basically like a fried sandwich. You could get it with ham and cheese or just cheese.
By the way, you're going to hear me, like, whenever she mentions a specific dish in this section, you're just going to hear me go, oh, because it was so good. Just let that be your hint. When you hear this sound, oh.
Ew.
Eddie recommends this dish. Anyway, continue.
So it was so good. So I see the menu, and there's stuff that's like, you can get steak and chimichurri with mashed potatoes, and I'm like, what? And I looked at the price. I'm like, oh, for Disney, it's gonna be like $40. Like, I was thinking, like, oh, steak. And I looked at the price. It's like $21, and I go, that's not bad, especially for Disney to get a portion that big and of that quality. I was like pleasantly surprised. Because if you go to quick service, you get a burger, that's $13. So I was really happy seeing that the prices were not so grand, because I was like, wow, this is going to be for everyone then. I think everyone could actually enjoy a table service. So we looked at the menu. There was Monte Cristos, steak and potatoes. There was like a chicken dish, and then there was a famous dish called the shrimp and grits. I don't like grits actually, but everyone had been talking about shrimp and grits, and I didn't. I wanted to try the Monte Cristo, but I didn't want to have the full thing, and also they're humongous, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
pro tip: if you're going to Disneyland and you're going to Cafe Orleans and you're going to order a Monte Cristo, split it with someone there in your party because they are huge. You're better off just splitting it with someone. You'll both be very, very satisfied with the portion you each get. So
trust me.
Split it. Trust me. Trust us. Split that thing. Don't eat it all by yourself because if you can, you probably won't be able to survive. You'll probably die halfway through the day via heart attack. Anyway.
So it's such a heart attack, but it's so delicious. So I ordered shrimp and grits, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. People really, really love that dish. It shows up, and it's in like the way that it was presented. It was such a nice presentation. All of our food had such nice presentation.
Oh yeah.
And it looked really good, and I was like, all right, I don't really love grits. I took a bite, and I go, what? And I said, this is delicious. Like, this is not just good, because it wasn't just good. No, it was delicious. Like, that was a delicious meal that I had. The shrimp, I was worried it's going to maybe not be seasoned that great. It might be really fishy. Took a bite, and it was just so flavorful and like very meaty for a shrimp. And I was like, and I go to him, I go, I can't believe that this has so much flavor. It had so much flavor. And I really enjoyed that dish. And if I were to go back, I would get that dish again. And I also had a mint julep, which is like a mint lemonade, is a signature drink at Disneyland. I was also delicious. And then I look at Eddie and his parents. They all had Monte Cristos. And they were just saying, like, this is so good. And I forgot to mention, we had an appetizer of the pommes frites. And they were incredible. Just so good. The quality of everything was so good. And then looking at the pricing, I'm like, this is maybe what, $20, $15 more than what I would pay for like a family of 4 at a quick service restaurant. I would definitely just rather eat here for a little bit of the extra money. And it was just, it was one of the best meals I've had on Disney property, if not the best. Again, delicious. And I don't say delicious that often.
There you go. That's the shrimp and grits.
Oh, so good. So if you see on top, there's like this toasted kale, and it's actually seasoned. So there's the shrimp. That's a mountain of grits. But look how it's plated. Look how it's plated.
Really nice presentation.
Really nice presentation. There's fava beans, corn on top. It's really, really good. If you like shrimp and if you like cheese and you just like some veggies, I would really recommend this dish. It has a little bit of a kick to it. I love spicy food. So if you like spicy food, you'll really, really like this one.
Oh, yeah. I had the Monte Cristo, the cheese version. Look at this gorgeous thing. Oh, my God. It's ham and cheese. I had the one that's all cheese, and it also has powdered sugar on top. That's why, I mean, it's fried. Isn't it deep fried?
Yep.
Deep fried cheese, ham, and powdered sugar. But it's okay, you get grapes. It's okay.
It evens it out with the grapes.
Yeah. Oh, you also get jam too, right?
You also it comes with like this strawberry raspberry jam that people like to put on it too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Amazing. I couldn't eat the whole thing though. And
no.
I'm a big boy. You know, I can't even I can eat the whole thing. So that's why Monte Cristo, which I'm sure is a signature dish that a lot of people want to get, split it with someone. You'll save money and you'll both be full. Trust me.
But again, the quality of everything. And I can't recommend it enough.
Absolutely.
Honestly, if you go to Disneyland, go to Cafe Orleans, you will have an incredible meal.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that lightly.
Yeah. And then there's also a lot of snacks that we tried, some of which that are unique to Disneyland and some that are very similar to, or they're the same ones as we have here in Disney World. Like we mentioned, the Dole Whip, it's the exact same.
Pretzel.
But the pretzel, I didn't personally eat the pretzel, unfortunately, but I've been told by everybody it's the exact same. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say that the popcorn is the same, the exact same. Now, There's one specific one. There's one specific one that is different. I know for a fact Maria is going to be the most concerned about this, but the churro.
Yup.
The churro.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the churro.
Let me tell you about this churro. All right. So I'm very used to seeing the Disney World churro, which, in my opinion, is lackluster.
Oof.
I think it doesn't look, it doesn't look bad, but I just don't think, like, I don't go out of my way to get a Disney World churro. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've had it maybe once. And it's very like, okay, and it's crunchy. Like, that's what I remember from my churro from Disney World. Like, it's just crunchy. It's not that, I don't know. I just like, it's very like, I paid $6 for this. This sucks.
Yeah, you're paying $6 for in a very okay churro. It's a churro that you could probably get at your local mall.
Yeah. So,
honestly.
And even then, I like the churros at the local mall better than the Disney World churro.
Yikes.
Churro Mania at the mall, I actually really like their churros.
Oh, yeah.
So
now Disneyland's churro.
Disneyland's churro, everyone says it is so different. I go, how can it be so different?
How can something from the same company taste so different?
And I go, man, I really like, okay, I don't know. And I kind of put it off. I was like, there's so many things to try. And then finally, when we were at the end watching World of Color, Eddie was like, I'm going to go get you that churro. So he goes and grabs me the churro. And I see it and I go, maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems bigger to me, the Disneyland churro. The Disneyland churro just looks bigger, in my opinion. And I was like, oh, okay. And it smelled really fresh. It was really warm. And I go, all right. And so I took a bite. And it was like that soft but satisfying like crunch when you bite into it. But the inside was just so fluffy and soft. And I was like, what? And I was like, cinnamon sugar. And it tastes, and I was like, wow, this is 100 times better. 100 times better.
So we're going to split this episode into 2 parts, and this is going to be the end of part 1. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow us so you have easy access to part 2 as soon as it comes out later in the week. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to subscribe and leave a review for a potential chance to get featured on our social media. Speaking of social media, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under WU Diz Podcast for exclusive content and an early look into upcoming episodes. If you'd like to watch us record our episodes and have a live conversation with us, be sure to follow us on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/whatsupdizpodcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.